Welcome to the Mastering E-Commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Kotter, co-CEO of Vimy. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future content. Now let's get started with the episode. Hello to another episode of Mastering E-Commerce Marketing. I have Marty Greif today, president of SiteTuners. Marty, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Eitan, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it. And I'm doing very well. So thanks for asking. Hopefully all's well by you too. Yes,
all good on this side of the world. And we're going to talk about CRO today. So I know you've been doing this for quite a while with SiteTuners. What's driving you to this business? What's so exciting about CRO and this type of optimization that you're totally focused on?
So it goes back to my background a little bit. Conversion rate optimization is all about persuasion. It's about psychology. It's about getting people to take the desired action. And I have a marketing degree, and I wound up, crazy as it sounds, as a technical person where I was a coder. I was building, systems and I wound up in marketing for software companies, and I just love it. So I can combine persuasion and technology. I'm happier than you can imagine. So it's really just a nice, intersection between the two. And I get my jollies out of helping people, right? And so the whole point of this is when we work with a client and they get real results, and especially if we're working with the owner of a company, in a mid-sized company or one of the executives, that it matters to them. We're making a difference in their lives. So that's kind of what drives me.
Yeah, so just taking your existing assets and optimize them, and the result can be something more overwhelming in terms of the improvement that you can make, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there's two pieces to it. In a lot of instances, we can take what people have and we give them free advice. And we've seen people take our free advice and immediately increase their conversion rate and revenue 10 to 15%, right? And wow. then, honestly, if you think about it, if that's what we do for free, imagine what happens when people pay us, right? And but the point here is that's taking their existing site and looking at what are the obvious conversion barriers. But when we work with people and then we dig in deeper, sometimes we not only take what they've got, but we look at it and we say, hey, can we change your business model a little bit? Can we change how you're going about this or your funnels completely? And that can be pretty exciting too.
Interesting. So let's start from the fundamental thing. Maybe we all go to a website and we experience something. It's something that we think about, something that we feel. There is an emotion involved. What are the things that we usually care about when we go first time to a website?
Well, that's a great question. When somebody lands on a website, they are asking themselves three questions. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this site? And what am I supposed to do here? And what those three questions have in common, and I'll exaggerate it, they're very selfish. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? What am I supposed to do? Yeah. All right. We're selfish. And so when we answer those three questions from the perspective of the selfish visitor, that's where the conversions come in. And if you look at like that first question, am I in the right place? Well, that's highly dependent upon the upstream messaging. And so whatever was promised in the ads, right, whether it was some type of Google ad or a video or whatever it was, whatever was promised has to be delivered. And here's the thing. Most websites do an ad, and when they drive there, it doesn't match. From the owner of the website, they think it matches because they go, well, it's obvious. But no, you don't know how obvious it is to the visitor. And so that first question, if you don't answer it, people bounce. And you don't even get to the second and third question.
Yeah. It's clear.
You
And
know,
it's not just for paid ads, right? It's also for SEO for activities, right?
yeah,
You're putting so much effort into SEO and keyword research, and then people click on a link and they land on your landing page or on your website, and there's no conversion, right? Nothing happened. There is
yeah.
no alignment between marketing and conversion. So I know there is no like bulletproof and there are no templates out there. It's all about testing and experimentation, or there are like some things that you like to say that are important for improving conversion. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So there are best practices, certain things that unless, somebody's got the weirdest website visitors on the face of the planet, this stuff's going to work, right? And I'll give you an example. So for all the listeners here, here's something you could do right away. Underneath your logo, if you could, or right next to your logo, depends on the layout of your website, you could put 3 to 6 to maybe 10 words that describe what it is you do, right? And you do it in a way that either adds trust or describes the website in your business from the perspective end user in more detail. So, for example, on our website, and I know we're not an e-commerce site, but the principle works regardless. Underneath our logo, it says conversion rate optimization. And because it's in the header, it doesn't matter what page you land on our website. From an SEO perspective, a PPC perspective, none of that matters. You could land on an article or an About Us page or anything. And in the top left-hand corner, it says conversion rate optimization. Now, think of this. If you are an e-commerce store and you're really, we'll just make something up here. Let's say we're targeting fashion for plus size women. All right. We've actually done this. All right. And so you want to say something up in the logo, whatever your brand is. Your brand name might be, beautiful brand. But underneath it says, enhancing, or beautiful styles or styling for plus size women. And then you say something like since 1984, whatever you started. Now that does a couple things. One is it says who you are and what you do. Okay. And it says how long you've been doing it. So that it generates trust. Mm-hmm. And so what's interesting about that is no matter what page you land on, you've got that tying in everything about the website. Now, the reason I bring that up as an example, I'll share something that happened with a client that, and they'll remain nameless based on what I'm about to say.
Okay? Sure.
They sold to plus size women, and they had beautiful clothes and so on. And all of the models they had on their site, or the majority, were these skinny little women. And I asked them, I said, why are you showing models with skinny little women when you only sell plus size clothes? And they said, we wanted to show something that was aspirational. I said, no, all you're doing is being insulting. Okay.
Wow.
And so, no, I mean, the things that people come to us with sometimes boggles the mind, right? But by talking about what you do and then having the pictures and everything in alignment, that's what makes conversions and revenue happen. So that answers the question, am I in the right place? And so everybody could just figure out, and a little bit of work to figure those 3 to 6 to maybe 10 words. I'm not saying it's magically going to come to you, but it absolutely makes a difference because it ties in the site. The second
tagline,
question,
right? Something very focused.
It's more than a tagline, because here's the thing. With a tagline, you can use what I refer to as marketing happy talk. We've all seen things where people know some marketing phrase that the founder or the owner thinks is like, this is this really cool phrase. And the visitor's like, I have no idea what that means.
Okay? Or so, just be specific on what you do, right? Like on the product or the service.
Yeah. In a positive
way. In a positive, differentiated way, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's exactly it. And then the second question, how do I feel about this? You need to have a modern design, but you also need to have trust. And so there's many types of trust, but I will tell you, and we've tested this, I can't tell you how many thousands of times, and it always wins. the phone number is the biggest trust symbol on the face of the planet.
Wow.
Real companies have a phone number, all right? And it's front and center. On the desktop, it's in the top right-hand corner. And on mobile, it's the click to call icon. And while it does increase phone calls, it does, I'm not going to lie, all right? It increases sales at a higher rate than it increases phone calls. And if you've got listeners who are maybe some smaller e-commerce sites and they say, but we can't answer the phone. That's okay. Have it go to a voicemail system where you give them love and they feel wonderful, as opposed to they call and they feel like they're talking to, like, the cable company or some government organization where you just want to hang yourself when you call. So give them love in that voicemail, make it worthwhile for them, and they'll feel good about you. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So phone number. Second thing they need to do. Okay.
Okay. So what are the top indicators that you see, or that you know that a website needs optimization? What are these indicators that tells you, hey, we need to do some work here?
So, that's interesting because there's two ways to look at that. I can look at any website, and because I've been doing this for, I've been with SiteTuners 12 or 13 years now. And before that, I've run other online businesses. So I can look at a website now, and really say, is it answering those three questions, from a visitor's perspective? And, does it have the trust? Are the calls to action clear? All right. Like in an e-commerce site, you've probably seen this, and fashion e-commerce sites really are the worst at this.
Mm-hmm.
They put a picture, they put lots of pictures of things. They put their call to action, like add to cart, but they've got like very little description about how the person's going to feel in this garment, or there's no benefits. It's like, we're beautiful, you should buy from us.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So
that's probably related to the topic of design versus optimization, right? So how do you balance? I mean, I understand you mentioned fashion, nice pictures, nice atmosphere, nice environment, right? But this is one thing. But there's also optimization and conversion that needs to be applied. So how do you balance design and conversion?
Yeah. So I will tell you, when we bring on a designer in-house here, it takes easily a year to get them to get rid of their bad design, website design ideas. Design for conversion is very different. And because design for conversion is getting the eyes to go to the things that actually matter. So you don't want to overwhelm people with pretty and beautiful design. And I'm not saying build ugly things, okay? I'm just saying you want the design to follow the flow, the business logic on the website, and that's a very different process than just making it look beautiful. Mm-hmm. This reminds me of a story about design. We were working with a company, e-commerce, and they were $20 billion a year selling hardware on, both in stores and online. So it was both. And I was presenting to them about what they needed to work on, and the EVP got really upset with me. He goes, "Well, I don't want to do it that way because Apple doesn't do it that way." And I said to him, "Yeah, but you're not Apple." Well, we didn't wind up working with them for much longer after that, honestly. So I might have phrased it a little better. But it just came out. You're not Apple. Come on. So brands can get away with things that smaller e-commerce companies can't, all right? Because when you go to an Amazon or an Apple or a Walmart or whoever you go to, you're reacting to them differently. You already know about them. You've got certain expectations. And then let's say I go to, John's jewelry shop or PC, whatever, PC World or whatever, some connection. I go there. You're not a brand. So what works on a brand, they react differently than what works for a non-brand. And so you really need to test and make sure you're addressing those three questions. Okay. Because if you don't, what happens if you just copy the brands, and we see this all the time, you're not going to wind up with conversions.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the fashion people. Fashion people think, well, we're in fashion, so we're going to do like the fashion thing. All right. No, if I don't know your brand in advance, you can't just be the beautiful fashion site. You got to solve the visitor's problem. If it's plus size, or if it's, wedding dresses, or it's whatever it is, I'm there for a reason. Talk to me, solve my problem. Don't try to overwhelm me with fancy.
Yes, this is probably related to our like basic instincts or survival instincts. That is the ego that is probably killing our business, or the way.
Oh yeah. I'll go further. Yeah. Ethan, you know what? Here's the thing. I have a confession to make. I am actually a selfish man. Okay, I am self-centered, and I think about myself first. And the reason I do is because I'm an animal. And unfortunately, we are all animals, every single one of us.
Yeah.
Right? And so because we're animals, we have survival instincts from like our caveman ancestors 50,000 years ago. Everything is self-centered. Our need for food, sleep, water, procreation, everything is self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is marketers, it's in e-commerce, they're selfish. And so they want to, I'm going to tell you everything about my product. I'm going to do this. I know you need to know that you need to. No, because your visitors are selfish. They don't care about you. They're trying to solve a problem. Answer their questions. Make it easy for them to figure it out. Don't make them think. All right. If you really think that other people are selfish and you focus on that and say, all right, how can I solve their selfish needs? That's where sales come from.
Yes. You talk about and you talk about trust factor, like as a foundation, like for the beginning of the joint journey, let's say. And it seems that it's important, like to build relationship first, or to feel some kind of a connection before you're open to be, probably pitched by a product sale or something like that, right? So it's like you're going to, right, like you do business these days. People want to know people before they do business with one another, right? So it's the same.
Yeah.
The online experience is obviously the same.
Oh, very much. And we have a saying. We always say, give before you get.
Yeah.
Because if you do that and you provide value to your visitor, they'll go, oh, yeah, I trust these people. I feel good about these people. I should buy from these people.
Yeah.
Right. But if instead you're, and I'll exaggerate a little bit, you're like, buy from me. No one wants that. Right. We're people. Be nice.
Yes. No, it's really, really interesting. And I really like that approach, because this is probably the way to do business these days. And obviously we're looking into the future, but how brands can know what's the potential shoppers need, want, what's the general sentiments they have, and how to adapt the website for their needs.
That's a great question. And there's multiple tools. First off, everything your shoppers do online leaves clues between their analytics, your heat maps, okay, the responses to your emails maybe. And you can even do exit intent pop-ups. You could do surveys. There's things that you can do. Mm-hmm. What you shouldn't do is you shouldn't base your design and your e-commerce on a subset of one person, meaning like the owner or the internal team of a couple people. You really want to use real data. And that's why we love, and I do mean love analytics and heat maps, because they tell a story. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, and I'll say this, Eitan, I'll say this about you, I'll say this about me, I'll say it about all the listeners. My opinion of someone's website doesn't matter. Eitan, your opinion of someone's website doesn't matter. And the owners of the websites, their opinions don't matter. The only people that matter are the people coming and buying and giving money. They are the only people that matter. And because everything they do leaves a trail, then you should focus on what's working using the analytics and the heat map and take the emotion out of it. It's that simple.
Nice. So what's the SiteTuners approach to CRO? How do you approach such? Let's say you have a new customer and you have an existing situation and you want to start optimizing. What's the process that usually SiteTuners implement?
Well, before they even become a client of ours, we give them free advice. This goes back to give before you get.
Give before you get.
Yeah, and there's a reason we do that. We do that 2 reasons. One is we can give someone some value, and even if they never work with us, they're going to say, hey, those SiteTuners guys, they were good guys, right? But the other side to that is when we give people free advice, they either implement the free advice or they don't. And if they don't implement the free advice, okay, and don't explain why they're not implementing, we won't take them on as a client, because even if they pay us, they're not going to listen to us. Mm-hmm. And that's just frustrating for everybody. So it really is a way to figure out, can we work with them? Once we work with them and we onboard them, we go through a series of questionnaires to truly understand their company, their products, their visitors, and we do that in a series of 90-minute meetings, because we've learned past 90 minutes, people start to foam at the mouth. You just can't do that to people.
It's too much. Yeah.
Yes. So we do these series of meetings, and then from there we dive into the analytics. Now, the sad part is on analytics, 9 times out of 10, we actually have to fix the analytics because their analytics isn't set up correctly. Wow. All right. Yeah. Can't tell you. Yeah, it's just sad. So, especially when we moved from Universal Analytics to GA4, and the other thing that happens is people don't bother with their Google Analytics because they're using their Shopify analytics, or they're using their analytics in whatever platform they've got. But the problem with that is those analytics aren't going to match the analytics from the website analytics. They're always different. And so while you can run your business from a cash perspective, using the analytics out of an e-commerce platform, you really want to look at website behavior in a more granular way. Mm-hmm. And you can get that from the other types of analytics. So we also need to look at the heat maps and make sure those are set up and capturing the information. And then from that, we create a punch list of tactical, immediate changes that they can make, or we make for them. It depends, different clients, that will have an immediate return. And so we move from the obvious into the less obvious, where we start testing and figuring out what's the hypotheses for these different things to get people to move forward. Mm-hmm. And so we move from obvious low-hanging fruit and obvious conversion barriers into testing. Right now, this goes against what every conversion rate optimization person on the face of the planet will tell you. All right. But I will tell you that with conversion rate optimization, there is the law of diminishing returns. At some point, you have win after win after win, and then you have less wins, or they're smaller wins. But at some point, it makes sense to slow down your testing, to slow down whatever you're doing. All right. And most people think they should be testing forever and ever and ever, but they wind up running out of ideas and testing things that aren't going to matter. And they're just spending money on testing. Yeah. All right. And so they really need to look at it from a business perspective. How much am I paying for the testing tool? Am I using an agency? How much am I diverting traffic that's going to losing tests now? What am I doing? And people don't think about that. They're just so enamored with the idea of testing. They become like testing monkeys, and that's all they do. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. It's like a flywheel of endless testing, right? So the law of the diminishing returns, it makes a lot of sense. Marty, I wanted to ask you about 2 things. So there's a lot of discussion around user journeys and, non-friction, seamless, right, on the user journeys. And then there's discussion about CRO. Is it just one influences the other? These are like 2 different processes, or please enlighten us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're all part of the same thing. So the user journey, we use something called the core model approach, all right? And what that does is it's looking at who's coming to the website, what kinds of people are coming to the website, and what kind of information do they need to be able to take the next step, and what's their journey. Mm-hmm. And so we look at that, but we can apply that not just to the website, which, by the way, the website is the virtual front door to the business, right? But we can also look at the upstream messaging as part of the user journey. Tell me about the videos that you've created. Tell me about your, maybe it's Google, search ads. Tell me what you've got there. Let's see that it matches. When they buy, all right, what are your transactional or promotional emails? What's going on there? There's all sorts of touch points that you want to look at, because I'll go back to the phone number in the top, right? You have this beautiful website. It's optimized perfect. And someone calls and they're like, yeah, what do you want? I'm exaggerating, but my point is every single touch point matters, all right? And so they're all part of the user journey. And I will tell you, we have optimized not just websites for people, but we look at all of their other touch points, SMS, email, phone calls. We've looked we had one client, because we order from our clients, we ordered from the client and the package came and it looked like nobody cared. It looked like who did it and ran. You open it up and the stuff was just thrown in there. And I'm like, wow, is this normal? And they're like, yeah. So we made them redo their packaging and put marketing materials in for reordering. And I was like, how did you survive sending things like this? How is that even possible?
Wow. So it's just beyond the website itself and the optimization, right? It's the whole.
Yeah. But let's be fair. The starting point is always the website.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Marty, what do you see in the market today in terms of user acquisition and how probably it influenced CRO?
So it's the same principles on user acquisition as is on the website, right? Whatever the upfront is needs to be compelling and focused on the visitor. So, excuse me, my apologies. So if you think about things like, let's talk about video. And so we've had a client that was doing some video to a landing page. And when we worked with them, we tripled their conversion rate because we aligned their video, which was really good to start with the landing page. And so, and I'll never forget that one. The fact that it overnight tripled their conversion rate and their cost per acquisition went down,
wow.
They were thrilled out of their minds, right? And so it's all about being engaging, being interesting, being different, speaking to the visitor. And video, for example, is a great way to do that. And we've seen lots of social really work well. All right. But again, as a matter of fact, we have a brand new client right now, this e-commerce client. Their social they had all this great social, and they were sending all of these different socials to the same landing page, which matched maybe one or two of the socials, but didn't match the other 20 of the socials, right? And so there was a disconnect between them. The colors were different. The messaging was different. The offers were close. You can't do that, right? It's all about that alignment.
A lot of brands feel that user acquisition is increasing and conversion rates and sales are probably stagnant, and they try to increase ad spend, right? Maybe launch a new website or replace the forms, and it's not working, right? It's not working. It's complicated, right? So there are other things involved. I think things that we've discussed, right, around the journey is how do you advertise and how do you the connection between the advertising, like the video that you shared, and also that specific landing page need to be alignment in messaging, in branding, right? So there's some fundamental things that are probably ignored by many brand owners out there. Yeah.
And is it fair to say that they're ignored, or maybe they just weren't exposed to it and they just don't know? All right, yeah. In fairness, okay? Because I got to tell you, we get customers and we get some really smart people coming. I mean, brilliant. There's one guy that, if he's not got an IQ way up there, this guy is brilliant. But some of the stuff he does doesn't make any sense to me. And when I explain things to him, he gets it immediately, right? But he just, he was an inventor. He's figured out ways to create an interesting product set. The product is amazing, but some of the alignment stuff, when I said that, when I shared the 3 questions with this man, am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? What am I supposed to do here? You could see the light bulb go off, and he's like, oh my God.
Wow.
So every conversation he says, well, is that answering the 3 questions? Right? And so I love
Nice.
that, right? But he's smart, so if they're not exposed to it, how are they magically going to know this is what they're supposed to do?
Yes.
Right?
I mean, every aspect of the business is getting more complex and requires a lot of expertise, right? So it's a lot of outsourcing, working with the right agencies on every one of these topics. I mean, no one knows everything on all sides of the business. That's obvious. Great. So, Marty, how people can find you and SiteTuners?
Well, the easiest way is to connect with me on LinkedIn, or to go to SiteTuners. So on LinkedIn, even though it says in here Marty Greif, on LinkedIn, my formal name is actually Martin, Martin, right?
Yeah.
And so it's Martin Greif with SiteTuners. And on the website, it's SiteTuners, SiteTuners.com. And people can connect with us, see what we do. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. We're always here to help. It goes back to you give before you get, right? So
great. Love this approach and really appreciate the time and all the great value and insight. Thank you so much, Marty. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. And if you could share this with just one person, it would make all the difference. Are you looking to accelerate your sales with the power of shoppable video? Explore Vimy, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimy at www.vimy.net, that's VIMMI.net, where you can start with a free for life package. We appreciate your support and look forward for bringing you more valuable insights in our next episode.